evening, everyone. Welcome to the Finance meeting of Monday, April 8th, 2024. I acknowledge the Shinnecock and Sioux First Nations on whose land we live, work, and play. This acknowledgement is only one small part of supporting Indigenous communities, and we continue each day to listen, learn, and act to support truth and reconciliation. Please have your cell phones turned off during the meeting. There are two meetings this evening, the Finance meeting followed by the Council meeting. There will be public participation at each one. And so topics specific to that meeting can be addressed at that time. Committee, are there any additions, changes, or we got the pinks, okay, for the agenda. Where shall we put that under correspondence? Okay. One slight change to the agenda is under adoption of minutes. 4A says Finance and Environment Committee meeting of November 20th. It's just the Finance Committee meeting. May I have a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Mayor Little. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And we have two presentations this evening. The first one is by Maureen Sawa of CAO and Shahiri Kerr, Board Chair of the Greater Victoria Public Library. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah. Good evening, Mayor Little, council members, and staff. Thank you for inviting us to make this presentation. My name is Shahira Kerr. I'm Vice Chair of the Greater Victoria Public Library Board and a citizen rep for the City of Victoria. With me to present this evening is our CEO, Maureen Sawa. Our Board Chair, Andrew Appleton, sends his regrets. He's unable to join us. He's in his own council meeting this evening. I'd like to recognize Councillor Shelley Donaldson, who is your council representative on the Library Board, and also the board's representative on the Island Link Library Federation. The commitment of all our councillor trustee members to represent their constituents across GVPL's 10-member municipalities is greatly appreciated. Public libraries provide a place where every citizen belongs. The Greater Victoria Public Library Board is committed to working with our municipal partners so that together we can build communities by providing citizens with equitable access to information, services, and resources to learn and grow. On behalf of the Library Board, staff, and community that we serve, I would like to express my thanks to the District of Metchosin Council for your continued support. We are proud of the work we do and appreciate your recognition that libraries do indeed change lives. And now I will turn things over to Maureen for the remainder of this presentation. We look forward to answering your questions at the end.
Thank you, Shahira, and it's great to be here. Thank you very much for inviting us. I like to begin these presentations kind of just as a reminder that Greater Victoria Public Library is a shared service model, which means that including the District of Metchosin, GVPL serves 10 of the 13 municipalities of the Capital Regional District, as illustrated in this map. Our shared service model, funded by our 10-member municipalities, enables residents within each municipality to have free and equitable access to a full range of services that only a large urban library system would normally be able to offer. This means that every resident in our 10-member municipalities has a standard of service that would not be possible for any of the individual municipalities to offer separately. You're a place to connect, discover, and imagine. GVPL is truly the definition of the whole is greater than its parts. So just a few statistics from last year to give you a taste of what we accomplished. A few things that aren't on this screen are we introduced additional water bottle filling stations in our branches, so we're very proud of the fact that we've saved, I don't have a current number, but quite a lot of plastic water bottles that never made it to the to use because of these water bottle filling stations. They're very environmentally friendly. The other thing that we're very proud of is with United Way, we introduced free distribution of free menstrual products in all of our branches, all 12 of our branches, for both staff and patrons. And as of the end of September, over 18,000 items have been distributed. So again, in our own little way, just trying to provide more supports for our community. Public libraries are the community living room. I'm so proud of the work that we've been doing to ensure that we are a safe third space, providing reliable essential services that meet the needs of local communities. I'd also like to recognize the City of Victoria for introducing a welcome sticker program and making it available to GBPL and other community interest holders across the region. Public libraries are community connectors, and you will have noticed perhaps that in many of the slides we make reference to a report published by the Canadian Urban Institute last fall entitled Overdue, The Case for Canada's Public Libraries. In a related article by Globe and Mail reporter Andre Picard, the comment was made that despite dire predictions that bricks and mortar libraries would become obsolete in the digital age, they have become even more important in recent years as essential community hubs. In fact, the headline of his piece was paying more attention to the health and social benefits of libraries is overdue. And on a related note, in another book, Who Needs Libraries Anyway?, the Boston Public Library reported that one of the biggest services it provides is simply its space, giving people a place to be for free. One of GBPL's largest and best used spaces is the Juan de Fuca branch, which serves the district branch it serves as the district branch and home branch for the District of Metchosin. Over the last little while, we've completed a number of upgrades to the public area space. I was just there myself a few weeks ago. It is just such a lovely branch, and it's very, very heavily used. Lots of sunshine, lots of proximity to nature, and very heavily used by all ages. So it is a great service. But I want to just talk a little bit about some of the enhancements we've made to our digital collections, because in addition to our heavily used physical spaces, we continue to experience significant usage of our digital space. Last year, GBPL became the first public library in British Columbia to offer access to the full suite of digital products at NewYorkTimes.com, including the news, games, and cooking sections. Patron feedback has been extremely positive, with over 25,000 sessions logged in the first 6 months. Last year, we expanded our popular Fast Reads collection to include ebooks and e-audiobooks, leveraging the Overdrive platform, which is GBPL's primary resource for ebooks and e-audiobooks. This expansion significantly improved the experience for library users by providing expedited access to sought-after digital content. And the other thing I'd like to mention is our popular streaming video services, which offer a diverse and extensive collection of digital content, including movies, TV shows, documentaries, and much more. Users can access content anytime, anywhere, using their library card and internet-connected devices. I'm noting that because in previous budget presentations that we've been doing over the past couple of months, it has been noted how important it is for individuals that are on restricted incomes to have access to the public library. So we've worked really, really hard to expand things. Some of you may know that the New York Times subscription, you get your basic one, but it's very, very difficult it's expensive to get the full range. So the fact that you can access it through the library. Other things that we've added lately are online access to The Economist. And as a result of these additions to our services, we hit the 1 million circulation mark on the Overdrive platform in 2023, which was noted in one of the American library journals. Some of this expenditure was made possible through some of the provincial enhancement grants, the one-time enhancement grants that we received. So we are putting them to use so that the benefits can spread right across the entire system. And of course, this was the year that we finally said farewell to overdue fines. At the beginning of January, GBPL became an overdue fine-free library. This was identified by the Library Board as a key priority at the completion of their strategic bridging plan. We were one of the last libraries in British Columbia to eliminate fines, and by waiting as we did, we learned from our colleagues and other libraries kind of how to do it right. And we also could demonstrate to the board and to our financial planning that, in fact, this elimination of overdue fines does not impact at all on the circulation of materials. And certainly the revenue that we were bringing in the last year that we charged was like 1.2% of our overall revenue. But the benefits of making it possible to welcome back people that may have been a little shy about coming back about late fines, that is all gone now. So I believe in British Columbia, of the 71 library systems, there's about 55 of us now that are fine free, and that is the trend across Canada and the United States. So as I mentioned, our strategic bridging plan, Building a Bridge to a Better Future. This was the 2021-2023 bridging plan. The board is in the process of embarking on a new strategic planning process, but I'm just going to quickly go over the 4 key goals that we worked on over these past couple of years post-COVID. Public libraries empower and enrich communities, and as I've said, our resources are particularly important. We expanded resources for those with print disabilities, also our world language collection, and we are going to continue working on our equity, diversity, inclusivity, and accessibility strategy to meet the Accessibility BC Act. And again, using some of the enhancement funds from the province, we have engaged with EDIA consultants so that we can review all of our processes and policies. And of course, continue to identify unmet community needs and service gaps in the Greater Victoria area. As I've already referenced, public libraries are community anchors. Again, gradually expanding open hours, hosting more events, reinstating our home delivery service, early literacy programs, and of course working in partnership with groups like the BC Settlement and Integration Services and others. I have to say, coming out of COVID was tough. It has taken everyone a long time, and we're still not quite there yet, but I'm really proud of the work that staff have done and the partnerships that we continue to work on with our community. Bridging the digital divide, one of the things that we're very happy with is our introduction of tech toys, adaptive technology, particularly for children. We were featured at the International Federation of Library Associations last year at their conference on the work that we're doing with tech toys as learning opportunities, and again, equitable access for families to access this kind of material. I've already mentioned our expanded ebook, audiobook, and other online collections, just again trying to ensure ease of access. So I know you've already looked at our budget, but I'll just kind of go over it very quickly. The library board and staff work hard to develop the budget that is balanced and meets needs and opportunities, but also recognizes the reality of our times. I know that our councillor representative can attest to the fact that we have a very hard-working finance committee of the board that does scrutinize things when we prepare the budget the year before, working with our staff and with the full board. We have had the opportunity, as in the past, to take advantage of some of our reserves to augment some of the budget increases. And as I say, as we know, we are committed to leveraging the more than 100 active community partnerships that we are engaged with to expand our programs. So in terms of the District of Metchosen's contribution, I just would like to note that we did request an overall municipal contribution increase of 5.99% overall, which supports equitable access to services and programs. So for the District of Metchosen in 2024, that resulted in an increase, a contribution increase of 3.80% over last year, which is $11,418. Cost per capita increase is $2.22. Finally, just a quote about Andrew Carnegie, who built the first public libraries in North America. They were referred to at the time as palaces for the people. We strongly believe libraries bring people together. We are not the only third place in the community, but we are the one place where people of all ages and stages are welcome to stay and explore as long as they want, spending time, not money. Making life more affordable is a key priority for both the district and the province, and public libraries fill an essential role in providing individuals with equitable access to the resources they need to thrive and strengthen the entire community. And I have to apologize, this next slide is out of sequence, but we didn't catch it until it was too late. But I wanted you to see that one of the things that our staff have worked hard on is engaging all of our 10 municipalities in kind of a community sense. So they developed a series of scavenger hunts for kids and families, and this is the image of the one that they did for Metchosin. So it's just kind of a fun activity that, we books that relate to Metchosin, just some fun facts, giving people an idea of what they might want to look for, things to look for in the district of Metchosin. So we did one of these for every one of our member municipalities. And now I can say, and that is the last slide now, when you come to the library, as I've said often enough, you have not only freedom, but freedom to belong and discover. So that's kind of our summary, that I know you were interested in knowing what was new and exciting at GVPL, but happy to answer any questions, and our board Vice Chair Shahira will also come up with me if there's anything you'd like to ask in particular. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Community, do you have any questions for Maureen?
So Maureen and Shahira, thank you very much. Just a
Yeah.
broader curiosity, anything that you see in terms of trends, in terms of library use, and of course digital and online is going to be a big one, but anything more specific?
Well, I would say, and Shahira can weigh in, I am actually quite amazed at the usage of our open spaces, our public spaces. I was at the Central Branch yesterday, Sunday afternoon, which is a large space, and there was not one empty seat upstairs. Every computer was used, every study cubicle was in use, our study rooms, our pods, everything. There does seem to be a real need for that community third space to come to. And I think with increased densification in many parts of the Greater Victoria area, coming to the public library is becoming more and more of a destination. And that, I don't know that I would have thought it would have gone quite that far, particularly those early days after COVID. It was, but at the same time, the usage of our digital resources has just kind of blown up. And I think, Shahira, do you want to comment from the point of view of the board? Because you did a great bike tour with our board chair last year on all of the branches.
Yeah, we had the privilege about almost a year ago, to visit each of the GVPL branches within a single day by bike.
In the pouring rain.
In the pouring rain, the one-day rain of the summer. And it was great just to see the kind of scope of usage of all of the physical spaces in the library. Even thinking about digital materials, use of computers. You don't always think of that being a need in the year 2024, but it is providing access to all sorts of digital tools that people need to participate in our society. The library fills that gap. Meeting all the wonderful staff of the GVPL, getting their perspectives, because they all work within their own branches and have their own sense of the unique community needs that they're working most closely with. So it was a great opportunity just to see the wide range of needs that the library fills.
Marilyn.
Okay, thank you. Thank you both, Maureen and Shahira, for your presentation. My question is there any appetite with the three remaining municipalities to be included, and the electoral areas to be included in the GVPL system or family?
That's a great question. Those three municipalities are part of the Vancouver Island Regional Library System, which serves kind of the upper part of the island. It's come up in my time over the years. I think it's a local decision, so I can't really comment on it. You might be able to speak to your colleagues at the three other municipalities to say. I mean, they're in kind of different environments, so I think currently the borough system works for them, but never say never. Yeah.
Thank you. And my second question is does any of the GVPL venues venues have spaces for rent? I know that Greater Boston Public Library has venue space for weddings and things, and they charge anywhere from 15 to 23,000 for that space, just for the, not for the catering, but just for the venue. Do any of the GBPL have space for that?
Not at this time. There, a couple of our branches do have meeting space that was designed to be not in that scale. Like I know what you're talking about. I've also seen the Chicago Public Library. They have kind of an atrium on top, and it's like unbelievable. At this point, we are finding that the need for space for study, individual kind of workspace and tutoring and things seems to be the big push. I would love it if we could. None of our branches are set up in such a way we could do that. But what we have experienced in a couple of our newer branches, for example, the Shwenghantan-Ho James Bay branch, is as new branches were able to furnish in a different way than our older branches. So the shelving and the seating is flexible. So at the branch in James Bay, we've had a couple of events. One was CBC doing one of their Canada Reads event, and we were able to kind of repurpose the space to be like a kind of a venue for an audience, and that worked really well, and I would like to see us doing more of that, for sure.
Say one thing? Yeah. So I guess just to add on that, like Maureen mentioned, we're at the end of our strategic bridging plan, and we had the chance to spend a full afternoon a couple of weekends ago at the start of our strategic planning process for the GBPL's next strategic plan. And it was a great afternoon. We were thinking about, what's the library of the future? What are these unmet needs that our community has? So thinking about the valuable resource that the library provides in terms of spaces is one thing. Thinking about alternative service delivery models is another. So I think that sort of, there's an appetite for that sort of bigger thinking about how to make new and better uses of our spaces.
That's so great.
Thanks very much for the presentation and the work you folks are doing. Much appreciated. Library seems to me to be one of the foundations in our society, and particularly for families, the use of them. I'm curious about, I support a breadth of materials being in the libraries, and I'm wondering, I know in the school system there are stresses and strains around the issues of what books are available to people. And I think of things like banning books or censoring books and that sort of thing. Is that dealt with in the library, or is it a problem? And is it dealt with at the staff level and at board policies, or does it go to the board, or how are you guys doing with it? Are we doing okay, or do you need help? Or what's up?
We do have a collection policy, and we do have criteria for selection of materials. Again, we have a limited budget, and we have to take all sorts of things into account, like is there information that could be available more readily on the internet, like, what would be the best format. I find, we do have a challenge with just, quite frankly, affording to maintain the level of demand of physical materials as opposed to digital materials. And I think people, not everyone, but there is kind of some misunderstanding about digital versus print, and digital is actually more expensive. You wouldn't think it would be because it's not a hard copy, but in fact digital licensing and things like that. So we're challenged by just what can we afford. Certainly there is kind of criteria, but I know libraries, particularly in the United States, are facing some challenges.
Any other comments? No? Thank you very much. Very much appreciate your
Thank you.
being here
Thank you.
tonight.
Thank you for inviting us. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your support.
Okay, so we have a second presentation this evening. If you turn to page 3 of your agenda, you'll see there's an example of the PowerPoint that will be coming up. So I'll ask Judith Cullington, President of the Montefika Performing Arts Center Society, presenting the Accessibility and Inclusion Study. Welcome.
Thank you so much for including us. So my name is Judith Cullington. I am President of the Montefika Performing Arts Centre Society, and with me is Matt Karolick, who's one of our directors, also a Metchosin resident. The purpose of this brief presentation is very simple. It's information. We're not looking for any decisions. Just to kind of talk about the accessibility study that you folks very happily helped to fund. Brief update on the work of our intermunicipal committee and the next steps for our group. So it has long been our goal to make sure that when we build this centre that it is inclusive and accessible and safe and welcoming. So accessible for people with physical challenges, with mental challenges. Inclusive, safe, welcoming for people who are gender diverse, who are neurodiverse, who are different cultures, different backgrounds. So it's really a kind of a place for everybody. So we felt as we moved forward it was really important to really understand what we needed to do in order to achieve that. So thank you. Through our partnership with the West Shore Arts Council, we accessed funding from the BC Arts Council and also a number of municipalities, including, thank you, District of Chosen, which helped make this study possible. And we were very lucky in that the wonderful consulting team who helped us to develop our feasibility study were also available and helped us to develop our accessibility and inclusion study. And they did this through interviews with people with lived experience. They talked to other facilities to look at what they called sort of, best and better practices, and really kind of tried to sort of, learn through the wisdom of others. So the full report is on our website, and I see that you have copies of that there too. So I encourage you to at least read the summary. I know you guys have a lot of reading material to get through. Just quickly, some of the key findings. One of the things that came through was this very kind of strong community interest in accessibility and inclusion. And you heard the GPPL talking about the same thing as well. The interviews really reinforce the importance of this work. And when we talk to people, they say, good for you, this is really important. This is really important to do at this stage before you even get into the design of the building. Another thread that kind of, for me, very much weaves through the document is what benefits one group benefits many. One of the kind of obvious examples is if you build something with good wheelchair access, it also works really well if you're a parent pushing a pushchair, or if you're somebody who has mobility challenges. I won't go into all of the recommendations, but just some of the highlights. Not surprisingly, of course, the importance of reconciliation and inclusion of our local First Nations. So that very much has to be a guiding piece going forward. They talked about setting up a guiding committee, so a group of people with themselves representing all of those diverse interests that we're trying to be inclusive of, to help sort of as we go through the design process, as we move into the operations, really just kind of give that sort of outside view and say, okay, yep, you're on track. No, you need to be thinking about this. So a group of people who can help us move forward on that. Site selection, some obvious things like needs to be in a place that has good bus access. A lot of people don't have access to a vehicle. Inclusive building design, so something that's designed with natural materials, lots of wood and glass, something where people who are coming to the building can see where they're walking into. Some of the theatres have these sort of big, strong colonial structures up front, and it can be intimidating for some. So something that feels open and welcoming, doing that well. Programming and space design, obvious things like gender-neutral washrooms, having adult change tables. Also having imagery that shows inclusiveness, things like rainbow flags. Having staff who are not only well trained in working with being inclusive, but people who themselves represent that diversity and inclusiveness. And our consultant said, and pay them properly to make sure they stay. Often you get the people who are wonderful, but they don't get paid enough, and they go off and get that other good job. There were a number for me of what I call aha moments through the document. You're all, of course, familiar with the Rick Hansen guidelines for accessibility, and one of the things that we heard loud and clear was Rick Hansen is that's the bare minimum. You need to go above and beyond that. There's a lot of opportunity to do that, and you need to. Designing with dignity. I think it's fairly clear that this gentleman does not feel that the experience that he's having gives him a dignified experience, because there he is facing a row of steps, and his entrance is buried way round the back, and you often see that in buildings where there's a lovely entranceway, but the elevators for people who have access issues are kind of buried in some little corner, and anyway, we need to do it better than that. Supportive technology. A lot of people rely on Wi-Fi technology devices to help with hearing, to help with interpretation, to help with other challenges. So having good Wi-Fi, having supportive technology is really important. Important to have good information before you get to the centre. A lot of people will go online to say, does this building have gender-neutral washrooms? Does this building have quiet spaces where my neurodiverse child can cope? So not only kind of doing it, but telling people that you're doing it so that they know ahead of time. Are you going to be able to offer services in multiple languages, as a for example? The one that just kind of made me go, oh, is the hand dryers. You go into a washroom and you have those lovely noisy hand dryers that do a wonderful job of getting your hands dry really quickly. You have a neurodiverse child who's afraid of loud sounds. That washroom is now off limits for them. So that was one of these sort of, oh, yes, we really do need the help of that guiding committee to kind of help us work all the way through. So anyway, it's a great study. It will, together with a feasibility study, really help us to move forward. At least one of those faces will look familiar. This is our wonderful intermunicipal committee, which now includes 6 members. The District of Souk recently joined us as well. Councillor App is our wonderful rep from Machosen. We're a group, we meet monthly, and we are charged with getting ourselves towards a grant-ready project. So looking at the operating model, looking at the funding model, looking at location, and location is very much one of the pieces that we're looking at the moment. So, we're looking forward to bringing you more news when it's ready. For the PACS organisation, our focus over the coming year is really threefold. The Intermunicipal Committee, of course, and identifying building partners, by which we mean sort of those who might share space with us in the building. Hiring a project coordinator. We have a grant application out to the Victoria Foundation to hire a part-time outreach coordinator, and we have a fabulous young woman that we're very much looking forward to taking on board. And we do have grant and aid requests out to all of the municipalities to support that. So you will find, when you see your grant and aid package, a request from us to support that, which I hope you will be able to look favourably on. The other piece of this is one of the things that we want our outreach coordinator to do is really reach out into the arts community and start kind of showcasing all of the fabulous things that we have going on here. So we're going to be joining forces with other arts groups around the region, hopefully joining up with probably MACA in Machosen, doing something here, and really kind of helping to showcase all the fabulous talent that we have all around the region. And we have an outreach and marketing study that we're in the process of building that will help guide that work as well. That's it from me. I'm very happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Committee, you have any questions for Judith? Madam.
Thank you for your presentation. I was just wondering, have you got any updates on your funding model? Have you changed your ideas about how you will get your funds for the building and the maintenance, or is that the same as what you had proposed last year?
Certainly no conclusions at this point in time. I think it's going to depend a little bit on kind of, exactly where we end up and what the building model is going to wind into the funding model. But I think our conversations so far have been consistent that for capital funds, we're looking to the federal and provincial governments, and private donations, we are looking to all of the municipalities for contribution towards the operating side of things.
Anyone else? Councillor Gray.
Yeah, not so much a question, but a commendation. I think it's a really great idea to have worked first on the accessibility question. And you've mentioned all of the different things that one might be inclusive about. So well done. I think it'll serve us well, and it'll serve you well, serve all of us well going forward. And thanks to Councillor Abt for your work on it too.
Councillor.
I just may not really have a question either, but thanks for the presentation. There's one thing that stuck out for me in the accessibility study is the statement that people are disabled by barriers in society, not by their impairments or conditions. I thought that was just really so true and really memorable. And I did enjoy being on the committee. Thank you.
We enjoyed having you there.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Okay, the next part of our agenda is public participation. If there's anyone in the community that would like to speak, now is the time to step up to the mic, state your name and street upon which you live. Thank you. Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to number 4, adoption of the minutes. So page 4 or page 7 is the Finance Committee meeting minutes for November 20th, 23. Moved by Councillor Epp and seconded by Mayor Little. All in favor? Did you have a question?
Yeah, I just had a question about
Yes.
on item number 3. There's legal public participation, but at the end of it says the first draft of the agricultural plan will come forward to council in December 2023. And I'm thinking that the ag plan is a little further along now, but will we see a draft of it before too long?
The final will be presented in May to council. All the drafts are complete. All the public engagements are done, surveys. Does that answer your question?
I think that does. I was hoping we'd have a draft so that we could provide comment on it, but we can do that when we get it. Thanks.
Okay, so I think I may have already called the question, but I'll call the question. Carried, thank you. Okay, and then I'd like to for us to look at pages 11 to 39 and for us to adopt all of these budget meetings. So there's 5 of them all at once.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor moved by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Gray. Any questions?
Just
Councillor
had one thing to mention, and that's thanks, Councillor Donaldson, to yourself for chairing all the meetings, and to Mr. Pyatt for his efforts. But also I want to recognize Sam Wellers in the background working on as an accountant working on the file, and that's been very important. But our staff, Boris, Ann, and Teen, have all put a lot of work in, and so doing these all in one batch, I just want to make sure we say thanks to the staff for all the work they've done.
I agree. Thank you very much. That was a good point. Okay, so a call to question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We have receipt of minutes, page 41, Agriculture Advisory Subcommittee of March 25th, 2024. Motion to receive. Motion by Councillor Epp, second by Mayor Little. Any comments? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We don't have any business arising. We turn to page 45 for the council's update. Just very quickly, the budget deliberations are complete, and I thank the committee for that as well as our staff, as Councillor Grace already mentioned. Agricultural plan is, presentation will be in May. There's more that we'll be talking about here regarding the wildlife and human interactions. Community garden, we're looking at excavation to prep the site. We have brambles are coming back again, so we're going to have to actually get those roots out. We've got some fencing quotes for putting a fence up and a few other things that will be happening there. As far as my role with the Wanapeka Water Commission, I have been hosting with some community members. Yes?
Yes. Sorry, Councillor Donaldson. The community garden, just
Yes.
a quick question on that. So do you, I haven't heard much about it like since it was discussed, I think early last year. Are there members? Is it proceeding?
We have a group of people that are interested in getting this off the ground. We did get in, did a work party, getting the brambles out. We have the Loonhead work release crew come in, and that's where we stalled. Apparently there's some things buried in the ground that we need to deal with. And so I did get permission from the district to bring in a small excavator, and that brought us into the fall. And so then we ran into, we needed to have a call before you dig. And in order to do that, there's only a 2-week window to be able to do that. And so arranging that and timing with activities that go on at school, of course, Instinct was in full force, and a lot of different training and activities going on at the school, so parking a car trailer with a machine is challenging when you don't know those things are coming up, which is where a community calendar would be helpful on our website. And just basic communication. And then the ground, of course, is too soggy in the end to have a machine out there, so here we are again. So this is where we are still. Yeah, so we've got to get those grounds up, we've got to get some fencing up, and we'll get there. Once we can get that happening, then we're in good shape. The quote just for the fencing alone is upwards of $5,000, so we're going to have to start looking at grants and that sort of thing. But there's a lot of stuff we can do just to get the place prepared.
Okay.
I think the soil is probably in good shape. A lot of pea gravel there, so I'll have to look at what we're going to do with that. So that's where we are with that, so thanks for that question. So as I was going to say, we've had going to be having 3 water talks. We've had one in February, March, and again on April 27th here in the Chambers. That's a Saturday afternoon from 2 to 4. They've been very well attended. The first one was 45 people, the second one was upwards of 55, and hopefully we'll have a full house on the 27th. That one we will have representation from the CRD and hopefully a few other speakers exploring some options of what's available for water resources in neighborhoods specifically struggling with domestic water. So there's more to come on that. West Shore Parks and Rec, just 2 things to mention here. We've been talking with the Tennis Club of Canada to put an air structure over the tennis and pickleball courts. They're wanting us to expand that proposal to be 6 months coverage. It doesn't change any cost or anything. It doesn't cost us at all. They're taking care of everything. So we're happy about that. We won't see anything for probably another year. And the, what else was I going to say about that? So I did actually, over the weekend, get, somebody had read the package and wanted to know more about this. The pickleball people were asking when we're going to resurface the tennis courts. That will be happening sometime in the next 2 months. It's all dependent on the weather. So those are some changes happening there. And as we've seen here in Machosen, trees are coming down. We lost a big Gary oak right behind the library. So they are having a closer look at, they do have an arborist, but they have person on staff that has the abilities to assess trees. So we did a lot of brainstorming about that, and I shared with what's happening here in the Chosen. It's climate and drought, disease. There's all sorts of things, but we want people to be safe. We didn't expect this to happen, so I think this is happening everywhere. We're just going to be more cognizant of that sort of thing. So they're taking care of that, and quickly did a very short accessibility tour just here in the Chosen with the fire chief, the CAO, Mike, who is a fellow that has been newly hired with the MCA. In his wheelchair, it was great because he could explain all sorts of things, so I followed him around and watched how he was able to manage what different challenges we may or may not have at the school. So that was pretty cool to see. We do have a feedback. One of our Mike, Jim McPherson was with us, so he's taking notes of some things that we need to do improvements on. And one of the things that Judith had mentioned there as well was, we have a washroom over there that is a accessibility washroom, but we don't have a baby change table in there. So there's a few little things like that that we could easily take care of. And Capital West has put out their survey. That will be our accessibility group going forward. So there's more to come on that. Okay, and then the final thing on our agenda is the pink that you see, which is in regards to a letter from the Agriculture Committee regarding cougar predation on sheep in the Chosen. We didn't deal with this. We had concerns about this last year. There were over 61 sheep and goats that were killed by cougars. We had quite a detailed and in-depth discussion at the Ag Committee. There's a letter here. I would like to suggest that the Ag Committee sit down actually I think it was Councillor Gray who had mentioned that one of his environmental committees here with us that we strike a subcommittee. However, only one person from NEAS was interested in sitting on the committee, and only 2 people from the Ag Committee. But what I would like to suggest is that we, as a council, sit down with the Ag Committee to explore this with the farmers that are having some concerns. Each one of them represents an area in this community of farms. This is a pretty serious topic. There were solutions discussed at the committee. There were suggestions of perhaps having a conservation officer there as well. We've done a lot of educational things with having Wildwise come in and the conservation officer putting on different bear-aware type programs and stuff like that. But we're already at the early part of the season right now, and we're up to 40 kills almost. So I know on our own farm, we've just turned our sheep out onto an adjacent farm pasture. So we're okay with bear where they are, but not for the cats. It's pretty hard to protect them from the cats. Well, they're actually mountain lions, so pretty powerful creatures. There's quite a good anecdote here from Maureen Buchanan of all the things that farmers have tried and don't work. But there are some other things that maybe we could explore. So I would like to suggest that the CAO, the mayor, and council sit down with the Ed Committee and explore this, if we could, in a separate meeting. If I could have a motion to that effect. We can arrange a time perhaps to do that through staff. Councillor Gray?
Yeah, I wasn't wanting to make a motion. If you wanted to get that on the table, I just had some other comments to make about the issue.
Okay.
We kind of talked about it at council already and suggested that MEAS can Ag Committee come to us with some advice, and so I feel like that makes sense. We should just continue down that path. I mean, obviously the cougars are here now and they're killing sheep, and the bears will be here soon. I think they're out of hibernation, and so they'll be causing troubles presumably later in May. For me, I'm not adequately equipped, really, without some background information from somebody to explain how it is regulated, what are the rules, what are the regulations, what's our responsibility. My understanding is that the district's responsibility is next to none in a circumstance. We don't really regulate, we don't control or have much on the go here. But the idea was to explore and see if there was something that we might do. So, for example, people talked about fencing, or they talked about having barns where they go in at night, or they talked about maybe collaring the cougars with electronic devices. But more talk about that isn't going to help me so much as if some people can dig in on it a little bit and let us know if there's anything the district might do. And I was thinking we might offer some financial assistance or something like that, but I don't know what else. In terms of the request in the letter, they were asking if we might contact the Conservation COS, I think that might be Conservation Officer Service. And it seemed, when I read the letter, that the issue is the response time. And I don't have a problem with sending a letter to the COS, asking them to improve their response times, if that's the issue. But there's a whole, behind all of it, there's the policy. What's the Conservation Officer policy? What's the provincial policy? I don't actually know. And so sitting and talking with the farmers without some information like that might be helpful. Today I received an email from Peter Powles, and Peter was a long-term conservation officer. He's no longer in the service. But he sent a note saying, I've heard that predator-sheep conflicts are picking up again, and that there may be some dissatisfaction with the response of conservation officers. And so he offered to speak to the committee, the Environment Committee in this case, or the Agriculture Committee, about the Conservation Service, how they prioritize calls, the response criteria, the husbandry expectations, the legalities, like farmers have some rights to remove predators on their own initiative. So some background like that. So he could meet with us, or he could talk to people who get from the Agriculture Committee or the Environment Committee, and sort of lift our learnings up. I think, though, right now, the proposal that MEASC had made, I know in the minutes it says Councillor Gray, but it's actually a MEASC motion came forward after some discussion, and the idea was that maybe there's something we could do. But I think right now we have an acute problem, which is the cougars are actually killing the sheep. And so I'm not sure that that longer term study is what we need right now. What we need to do is see if the conservation officers will come more quickly. Peter explained to me that he lives in Metchosin, so that may come in quickly, relatively easy in the past. But what about now?
Okay, so
those are my thoughts.
so this is exactly what we talked about at the Ag Committee, and there were lots of different solutions. It wasn't to study it more, it was more to learn, and I think the district needs to be a part of that. I think this council needs to understand how we can actually support the farmers, or if we can. And certainly the response time, but they also, like many other employees and things, are strapped with their resources. And, you know, we talked about what is the legislation, what are the parameters and restrictions on dispatching of these animals, and who does that? Well, it is the conservation officers. So what I'm suggesting is that we have them attend this meeting and discuss it. Peter Powles has in the past, and you're right, he lives here. He is newly retired from that job. So certainly we need to know what do we have as resources to be able to support our farmers. That's what I'm asking for, is a sit down at the table. Because I even though I am a farmer, I have limited resources as well, and I don't know all of the legislation. I do know what best practices are when it comes to dispatching certain animals, including horses. There's a new code of practice on that as well that was created in the last half a dozen years for British Columbia. Councillor Schuppen.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Donaldson. And I have to say I'm with Councillor Gray on this one. As I read through very impassioned letters, both from the commentary from Ms. Buchanan and then also the letter from the Ag Committee. But it did cross my mind, what can the district do? I think you've answered some of those questions as well today, and I'm very open to sitting down with the Ag Committee. I feel like there's probably more of a functional group that should be formed around this. And I had the opportunity to talk with someone who's involved in, has some experience in managing livestock predator conflicts. And she did mention there's significant research that's been done over the years. Interestingly, around some of the points that are raised here from Ms. Buchanan as well. Now, whether these have been tried to the fullest extent or whether there's support that the district can offer, I think we have to explore that. I'm a little cautious about relying too much on the Conservation Officer Service, because I think one of the things that happens is once you've called them, it's an indication that there's a problem or there's a situation, and unfortunately the word dispatch has been used quite a number of times in terms of cougars. So I think it's a tricky, it's a problem. I mean, ultimately, we have a role in this. I think the growers have a role in this, and also the Conservation Service. I have to say, though, the ultimate responsibility for sheep on property are the owners of those animals and the property owners where those animals are as well. So I'd be very happy to find ways that we can support them. One of the things, I was talking to someone earlier today, and they boiled it down to limiting situations that enable habituation in terms of the cougar being able to come back and find easy prey. Now, and to me, that strikes me as probably the nub of the problem, because that's where you have problem cats or problem bears or whatever, that because of habituation to, again, an easy dinner.
So we have identified that some of the reasons this is happening is the displacement of their habitats. There's not a lot that this council can do about that. What we're starting to see as well is, and I'll go back to the day that we did the photo shoot on Perry Bay Sheep Farm. While we were standing there, there was a kill happening across the field. You saw those sheep coming across. That's where that kill was, right next to the trail. So not long after that, well, actually that was the same day, my neighbor up behind me was out for a walk. And so I talked to a lady with a stroller saying, don't go there. He just saw the cougar. Okay, so you know what that day that was. So the other example was there was 3 kills on Sea Bluff Farm Trail. Took 12 hours for a CO to get here. That's a public trail. So we're getting very close to human interaction. Another one was a goat that was killed in someone's backyard while they were out doing some cleanup in their yard, and a child was playing on a trampoline. So it's not just the farmers that are having a problem. This is going to get worse, and do we want it to get that much? Who can dispatch or not? What can we do to help the timeline of the COs getting here? That is one of the bigger questions. And the farmers do have a lot of ideas on it, but they also want an opportunity to be able to speak to council and to brainstorm this. So they have a lot more to say about it, and I would like to give them the opportunity. Mary Lou.
Yeah, so in the past we've had direct council to committee meetings. We did with the Parks and Trails this last year actually. So we could have another meeting. So in response to Councillor Gray's, what question about what could we do? One of our biggest tools is advocacy. And so we could arrange a meeting with the Ag Committee and us. We could arrange a meeting with conservation officers as an information meeting with the Ag Committee members and ourselves. There's lots of things that we can do in terms of advocacy. So if the Agricultural Committee would have an appetite for meeting with the conservation officers and us, I would be all for that. I think more education's
I do see the value in that. I think having the conservation officer there would help explain what the regulations are in British Columbia when it comes to that, as to who does what and how and that sort of thing. Councillor Gray.
I just wanted to mention that last year we were told that 8 cougars were killed in Metchosin. So I don't know if any cougars have been killed this year, but just because we're talking about the number of sheep killed, I think we're up to 30, did you say 40 now this season?
It's getting up there now.
And 8 cougars last year, so it is a significant issue. I was just feeling that we would ask the advisory committees to work on it. But if you prefer having a council meeting, then I would suggest we get a staff report to to lay out what are the issues, what's going on and all that, so we actually have something to talk about. I noticed in the minutes of the meeting, the questions are things like, what is the law? Well, we need to know that before we get to, like, let's get some background and study. If we're going to do it ourselves rather than have the committees do it, we can ask me ask and advise the agriculture committee to stand down, and we'll come and meet with them and see if we can figure it out. But I would have thought use the advisory committees, that's what they're for.
Well, that's exactly what I just said, is they have some ideas, and they've also asked for the presence of the conservation officer who knows more about the best practices and the regulations in this province. And I think it's important that we do something like what Mayor Little is suggesting, that the three different parties get together. So you've got a group of people who do have expertise in their fields, but they're also needing more support. They need to understand more. If this council can't do anything for them, they need to hear that.
Yeah, I think certainly in the time of the election, we met with the farmers, all of us did, and we heard there's not a lot that the district does. It's not our jurisdiction so much. And we do have the agricultural plan coming, which presumably will lay out a bunch of things that we might tackle. And so I'm just wondering about, the use of our resources and how far we should go. I offered earlier, I think I want to respond to the letter. So it turns out maybe it's not what's in the letter they're looking for, but instead a meeting. I read the letter and said, great, let's fire off a letter asking for a quicker response. I see no problem with doing that. In other words, action. Do the advocacy now. But if you prefer to wait to a meeting and do that later, that's okay with me too. I'll certainly attend a meeting from set up. I just don't know what I've got to offer.
Councillor Schuster.
So, thank you, Councillor Donaldson. To Councillor Gray's point, is it worth sending a letter now to Conservation Service, or should we wait to get more information? I personally, I don't know if I have enough information to understand the issue and be a good judge of what the immediate action should be.
I don't know the value in sending a letter to the conservation unless we're inviting them to a meeting.
Okay.
Because we already know what they can and they can't do. But I think having all three parties in the room has its merits.
Okay. So, Councillor Donaldson, I would move that we request staff book a meeting between council and the Agricultural Advisory Committee and invite Mr. Powles, if possible, and the Conservation Service.
Certainly the cost, yeah.
Yeah. And that meeting be held or booked expeditiously. So moved.
Moved by Councillor Schuken, second. Councillor Epp. Any further discussion? Mayor Little?
Yeah, I think it should be the Conservation Office themselves, because Constable Powell's retired a couple of years ago, and there may be some recent updates, and he can't speak for the Conservation Service because he is retired, so I think it should be somebody from the current Conservation Office.
I think I did throw that into the motion, yeah. But I think it'd be great to have Mr. Powles there as well. He may be able to speak more candidly. But,
Okay, so any other comments? Call the question. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, and with that, ask for an adjournment to this meeting, please.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Schuken, second by Councillor Epp. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the council meeting of the April 8th, 2024. Thank you, Councillor Donaldson, for doing the territorial acknowledgement earlier this evening. You've got before you an agenda. We have the addition of the late-breaking supplementary agenda in the form of the PINKS notation, so we'll add that to correspondence. Actually, we'll add the first item to new business and the second item to the correspondence for action. With that, I'll take a motion to approve the amended agenda.
Motion to approve.
Moved by Councillor Donaldson, seconded by Councillor F. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. There's no presentations. We have some time for public participation. If you wish to speak at the mic, you're welcome to. State your name and your road, and you have 4 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, Bev Bacon. I'm a chosen sheep farmer who's aware of the wildlife conflict. And I just wanted to, I sent this to you just tonight by email, but this is why you can't fence a cougar out. It shows a cougar can jump 15 feet up from a standstill, and with a running jump can jump 40 feet, broad jump. You're not keeping them out with fencing. And a bear will respect some electric fence, a string of electric fence. A bear will crash through fences and press fences down, but will respect electric fence. But the cougar you're not keeping out with fencing, any kind of fencing. They jump. But I have lost a ewe to bear. Conservation officer did not come, and they missed getting. You got to get the right bear. So both the cougar and the bear eat a little bit and then hide it and come back the next day and eat some more. And that's when within 24 hours, you've got to get the conservation officer or somebody, doesn't have to be him, to put a live trap out by the kill. And then you'll get the right cougar or the right bear. Otherwise, we might be killing cougar or bear that are innocent. And I do think we have to eliminate the ones that are killing domestic animals, because the next will be pets and small children that are at risk. But when my ewe was killed by a bear and nobody came, it just seemed so obvious to me. I think our live trap comes from somewhere else, like Souk, and we need to have our own live pen or live trap here in Metchosin. And at the time I talked to John Buchanan, and he said he would store it on his property. I think it's on wheels and can be dragged over quickly. And then what you do is you put a trail camera on it, and then there's an alert as soon as you've caught the animal. But he's coming back, and that's when you get him, and our conservation officers aren't coming quickly enough. So that is the #1 recommendation. Dogs really do work. My friend's Yorkshire Terrier chased away a bear. A pot-bellied pig chased away a bear. They will run. If they're chased, they will run, because they're used to prey that doesn't fight back. They're not used to prey that makes a lot of noise and a lot of fuss and runs at them. Sheep don't do that. Deer don't do that. A cougar has to kill 1 deer a week. And if he's not getting enough deer, and we may be down in deer this year, I believe we are, then he's got to look for something else to eat, and we just can't make it so easy for them. But the guardian dogs are really good, but we've got something wrong with our land use planning, because the people who came before us thought it was really great to have some farms and then some small lots next to the farms, and then a farm area and then some small lots, and they thought that was good planning. But you know what? The people from the city that buy their little plot like that are in their yard all the time, and they don't like barking dogs. So if it was farm next to farm, we'd be used to these dogs bark, no predators come around. So on my farm where I have guardian dogs, we don't have a problem with cougar or bear. We've chased off 1 bear and we've chased off 3 cougars, my dogs and I. Me banging a shovel on the metal gates and things like that. the cougar especially are shy of people. I'm not worried about chasing them away, and I'm proud of what my dogs can do, but my neighbors don't like the fact that I have barking dogs. As for land use planning, so I'm not convinced that smaller lots between the farms is a good idea, unless they know that what comes with a farm. And we have to provide in our land use planning, I'm looking at you, land use guy, that we have to provide for the wildlife corridor. So our forested mountains should be for wildlife corridor, and the forest along our creek beds should be wildlife corridor. And give them space, and they don't want to be in our yards. And so we need to protect those areas, and we need to fix our OCP. What's wrong with our OCP, as good as it is in many ways, it does not provide for large acreages. If at build out, Metchosin could be all 5 and 10 acre lots, nothing bigger. At least in the highlands, they have 30 acre lots, 50 acre lots. We haven't provided for that. And you can't wait until somebody wants to subdivide their land and then you say, oh, wait a minute. We don't really want that. We have to say right now, we don't want Metchosin chopped up in 5 and 10 acre lots. We have to have some large parcels. So upzoning.
20 seconds left.
Upzoning has to happen right away. I think I've said it all. We want to live in harmony with the large carnivores. We don't want to be killing them. I studied cougars with a friend of mine who lived in the woods and studied and tracked them, and I was with her treating them, tranquilizing them, putting radio collars on them and all that. I love cougars, and I don't want them killed, but I want to keep my sheep alive too. Thank you. Please look at your email for this. It's impressive. Is what me?
Brent Donaldson, Challister Court. I didn't plan on speaking because I have spoken at the Ag Committee meeting a couple of weeks back, and as well as MEAS. Actually, it was quite a robust time at MEAS. We spoke for probably 45 minutes. I do agree with several points that Bacon made. It's interesting enough, when she lost a ewe at her place, if memory serves me correct, that was a couple of years ago, we had a kill the night before. And I do recall, if it's correct, that there was a wildlife camera and that cat came back, or the bear. So we do have problem cats and problem bears, as Bev suggested. I don't recall that number of 8 cougars that were dispatched last year. I heard 6. But generally, when they get a taste of sheep, they're not going back to the woods. It's easy kill. Our flock is small, but John and Buchanan and Tom Henry do move their animals around. Most people like seeing sheep in the fields, but certainly for John, when you lose 41 animals in a year, that's tough. And he supplies employment to 4 or 5 people in this municipality. Those folks go, as Robin Tunnicliffe said, I think in the fall, those folks go, they spend money at Tony's, they have maybe a beer at the brewery, maybe go to Metchosin Cafe for an ice cream cone. So that economy that circles around the larger farms, and even ours for that matter, we spend $1,500 a year at Willowin just on grain for our sheep and pigs. So this is bigger than most people realize, and certainly the problem cats and bears, they don't go home. They stay, because it's easy prey. And if anybody's seen a kill of a sheep, they get eaten alive. They start on the backside where the udders are, and those animals suffer. And I've seen that 3 times with our animals, and it's absolutely horrendous. So I really empower you folks to sit down with CEOs, council, MEAS, get the groups together. We have to do this soon. If we're at 40 now, we're going to be at 100 by the time the summer's out. And that to me is not acceptable. Thank you.
Can I ask, through the chair, Brent, is there a reason not to ask the conservation officers now to come sooner? Why should we hold off for a meeting? It takes quite a while to set up a meeting, you know. We could fire off a letter tomorrow.
Well, and I think Mayor
But we
Little
stay
did
away from that.
did that last year. So, from what I understand with the Buchanan's kill at Sea Bluff, that CEO was out at Port Renfrew checking fish. So, and they're good guys and gals, and they do their best, but they're just limited on resources. And the thing is too, is that one thing we haven't done for a while is get the dogs out. If we have a problem cat or bear, and I get it, we live in wilderness and there's wolves and cougars and bears and we all think that we're living in harmony. Wait until there's no more sheep. They're gonna be feeding on kids and dogs. So my thought would be, okay, let's get them here and get some sort of a understanding. If you're not gonna come, then that's fine. But don't leave that, okay, we're gonna show up, and they show up 12 hours later on a public trail. Don't move the sheep because we wanna take measurements. That doesn't cut it. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else for public participation?
Good evening. Darren Brown, Grayson Road. Today I want to address a concerning issue that's plagued our workplaces and public forums, bullying and suppression of voices. Bullying in the workplace is not just a matter of personal conflict, it comes with significant cost. The financial impact on an organization is substantial. Studies have shown workplace bullying increases in absenteeism, higher turnover, and ultimately affects the bottom line. In public forums, it is essential that every voice is heard and respected. So I must address a concerning incident that I recently witnessed at a public forum. During the public participation period of the PTASC meeting, a participant was unjustly silenced by the chair, who yelled, "That's a lie," labeling them a liar. This behavior not only undermines the principles of democracy and free speech, but it also discourages citizens' engagement and participation in the decision-making process. As representatives of our community, it is your duty to ensure that all our voices are heard and respected, regardless of dissenting opinions. You must strive to create an environment where constructive dialogue flourishes and citizens feel empowered to express their concerns and ideas without fear of retribution or intimidation. Councillor Shukin, you failed to address the egregious issue. You didn't hold the chair of Parks and Trails Select Committee accountable for their inappropriate actions. This is not the first time this occurred. When I spoke at a public participation at PTASC meeting in the late summer, I was also shouted down by the same individual, and you didn't address it at that time, but you were joining via laptop remotely, so it's hard to read the room maybe in that instance. But I was very surprised that you didn't address it at the March 19th meeting. In fact, then took steps to enshrine that individual as the new ingoing chair of the PTASC meeting, despite them publicly expressing concerns about their ability to adhere to rules that prohibit bullying. This admission is deeply troubling. It raises serious questions about conduct and leadership within our municipal council and select committees. Bullying in any form has no place in our governance process. I urge each of you to take a stand against workplace bullying and the suppression of voices in public forums. Let us work together to cultivate an environment of respect and inclusivity and transparency within our municipality. By doing so, we can rebuild a strong and vibrant community that thrives on the contributions of all its members. Do not allow the specter of bullying to cast a shadow of the work you do on behalf of our community. I urge Councillor Shukin to, as a PTASC liaison, to reflect on your role as the representative of our community and to take decisive action to address this issue. Respectfully request the PTASC chair acknowledge their mistake and issue a formal apology to council, to our community, and those individuals affected by their actions. This gesture of accountability is essential to rebuilding trust and reaffirming commitment to upholding the highest standards of conduct in our municipal affairs. To this end, I strongly advocate for the recording of all select committee meetings. Recording meetings will also provide an accurate record of proceedings, and also serve as a safeguard against inappropriate conduct. Additionally, I urge that meeting minutes be promptly published following each session. The publication of minutes ensures transparency and accountability by allowing citizens to review the discussions and decisions that took place. Let us work towards a future where all members of our community feel valued, heard, and respected. The PTASC minutes of March are still not published 21 days later. My chickens have managed to hatch their eggs in the same duration. Thank you for your attention to this important matter.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak?
Oh.
Councillor Shukin?
Thank you, Mayor Little. I will discuss this with the chair of PTASC, with the comments that Mr. Brown made and his recollection of the incident. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak at this meeting? Okay, if not, we'll move on to item number 4, the adoption of the minutes. If you turn to page 3, for our council agenda, we have the council meeting of March 18th. Could I have a mover for the adopting these minutes? Moved by Councillor Epp, second by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
Mayor Little, if I might just comment that the top of second page of the minutes, it referenced some comments made to our MLA, Minister Mitzi Dean, just around the City of Colwood model for community health centre. The note is about the catchment area, including Metchosin. That's a decision that I believe the Mayor of Colwood and others are interested in making. The real issue that I was asking the MLA about, though, the question was about whether or not the province would support, or whether she would support salary physicians instead of contract physicians in the model. So I just wanted to clarify that. It was not reflected so much in this. I don't think we need to correct anything, but just that was the issue. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on to the mayor's report. If I could ask Councillor Epp if you'd like to speak.
Thank you. Just to announce very great news that the district is the recipient of a BC Active Transportation Network Planning Grant of $37,500. This is a matching grant, and the remaining funds will come out of our one-time budget items. We have engaged Urban Systems Transportation Engineering and Planning Group to help us with the plan. If anybody remembers, they did submit a work plan last fall, which is probably the main reason that we were successful excuse me, in this grant. I just wanted to read what section they had in that work plan. It said, it is understood that the district is seeking an active transportation network plan that both articulates a long-term vision for active transportation facilities, but also includes an implementation strategy that guides the district towards short-term implementation of high-priority improvements. Importantly, this is to include putting the district in position to be successful in upcoming grant opportunities such as the BC Active Transportation Infrastructure Grants Program or other appropriate funding source by identifying priority projects that best address the community's active transportation needs and align with the goals outlined within these funding packages and developing the necessary concept, design, and costing. So we're going to get going on that as soon as possible, this week actually, to start with, in the hopes that we can have the plan done by the fall intake of the active transportation infrastructure grants. This year, the province gave out $24 million in project grants to 11 different recipients. And for example, Souk, well, last year they applied, they got a Government of Canada infrastructure grant for $1.3 million. This year they received two 500,000 grants from this BC program. So it's an incredible way to fund everything from trails to bike lanes to safety things and any bridges, pedestrian bridges, or just all kinds of things that are listed in these grant recipients. So it's very exciting to have, and yeah, looking forward to getting going on.
That's great. Councillor Shukin.
I just want to pass on congratulations to Councillor Epp. You worked long and hard on the grant, and I was waiting and I wasn't expecting it to come. So this is happy news.
Yeah,
congratulations.
Thanks.
And great timing too, because we're also looking at the Parks and Trails Master Plan. We'll do that in time, so it'll be neat to see how the two intersect.
And we have spoken with Urban Systems about incorporating our Trails Master Plan and working with them. They work a lot on connectivity from, between trails. A lot of these projects they're funding now are connectivity trails.
Great.
Good job.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead, Councillor Donaldson.
Yeah, also congratulations, and I look forward to some of those projects and challenges, specifically in the core meeting with more accessible trails. 'Cause we're finding that there's different aggregates that we can use and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's throughout the whole community, clearly, but certainly we know a few places we can start.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, they do help with with us setting priorities,
Right.
right? So we can kind of start picking things off kind of one at a time or a few at a time.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's great. Okay, with that happy news, we'll move on to reports for action. On page 11, we have a staff report, UBCM, Regional Community to Community Forum. So this is a memo from Ms. Hanson seeking endorsement from Council for the grant application to UBCM Regional Community to Community Forum Program for 2024-2025. You recall that last year we were the recipient of, I think it was $5,000 or $4,000 for community to community relations with Beecher Bay. And this is along the same veins for this year. I think it's well worth our efforts and the opportunity to help enhance those relations. With that, does anybody want to make a motion? Go ahead, Councillor Donaldson.
Yeah, I'd like to motion that council approve in principle, a grant application up to $10,000 for the 2024-25 UBCM Regional Community to Community Forum Program, and authorize the mayor and CAO to execute any agreements related to a successful grant application.
Second.
Okay, this is moved by Councillor Donaldson, seconded by Councillor Shuken. Comments? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Next, we have some reports for information. On page 15, we have, first of all, the Metchosin Building Inspection Permit revenues and the breakdown of the permits issued. With that, I'll take a motion to receive.
Motion to receive.
Moved by Councillor Donaldson, seconded by Councillor Shuken. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And we also have, as usual, the District of Metchosin Public Communication Report Statistics on page 17. Take a motion to receive. Moved by Councillor Donaldson, seconded by any of you? Councillor Kemp. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And next we have the monthly bylaw and animal care service report. So we have the statistics on bylaw enforcement and a summary to the end of February, as well as the enforcement actions on page 21.
Receive.
Moved by Councillor Gray to receive, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Comments? Questions?
I just have one comment. I noticed in February we had, well, in January there was I guess, I'm not sure if these are hours or incidents, but one deposit of fill. In February it went right up to 8, so I think it'll be very good when we put into the tax notice some of the rules and regulations and when these time spans are available, so people are more successful in being able to operate and soil them for their gardens or whatever.
Okay.
It's interesting to see that in sort of the off season. So yeah, an education component would be helpful.
Okay. So move receipt. Councillor Shuken and Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, we have some correspondence for action on page 23. We have a letter from the Agriculture Advisory Select Committee regarding comments about the Metchosin Producers Association, Metchosin Farmers Market. And I thought it'd be a good time to discuss this out in the open, see what we can do about it. Councillor Donaldson, since you're the liaison, did you want to start off the discussion?
Sure. Again, it's this last meeting was very full, lots of things to talk about, and it was as we were talking about the reviewing the agricultural plan forum that we have with the farmers at Wilson Creek Farm. It became clear to us over the time of engaging with the public and the farmers and the Metchosin Producers Association that we would like to meet up with them. I don't know if they actually have always done this or have done this in the past, but as they are part of the plan, to have a better understanding of how the farmers market operates. I know when I was involved with the market 29 years ago, everybody was selling like the same thing, and so the market has grown since then. It's not just produce, not just people baking bread. It's a lot of different things. And so the Ag Committee had also identified there are fewer farmers, but there are farmers that are interested in being involved. One of the things in my involvement with the farmers market last year is that I've learned also that some farmers can't make that commitment for the whole 6 months of Sundays, but there is something called a community tent and it's underutilized. So understanding more about how that works. So I've spoken with the president of the Metchosin Producers Association and asked if it would be an idea for us all to get together and have a better understanding how that works, and also how we can implement the recommendations that are coming out in the agricultural plan and be able to support agriculture on a larger scale, including roadside stands. Maybe there are people who want to come in the odd Sunday to sell their seasonal tomatoes because they're not going to grow year long and that sort of thing. So how is it that we can reach out and complement each other on the different things that we are doing as agriculture in our community? So this was, I think it's again getting the individual at the table to understand what each role of each party is doing and where we can maybe make some improvements.
Councillor Shuken.
Thank you very much, Mayor Little. This, when I read the letter and based on some other comments and discussion I've had in last year especially, I do feel like this one is ripe for more discussion. The letter states that the purposes of this society are, and then notes, to encourage agricultural activity in Metchosin. But if folks had a chance to read the lease agreement, I think these points are in there as well. So I think it's ripe for discussion as to how we can work, how local growers can work with the Producers Association to, have a greater presence there. So both yourself and Councillor Donaldson are well connected. I would be happy to help as much as possible. My connection is through the grounds group. Have to acknowledge we haven't met this year, but I'm going to try and set up a meeting before the first farmers market. But I would almost recommend maybe the two of you liaise with the two sides, and you might be in the best position to bring something in.
Yeah, both of us know both sides quite well. I think that would be good, having the president or the chair and the vice chair and the president and the vice president of the Metchosin Producers Association at a meeting together. I mean, the Metchosin Producers Association and the farmers market has been very successful in fundraising, in building the stalls, and expanding the infrastructure on municipal property, and the markets are run very well every week and through to Christmas. So I would like to see them collaborate more so that there's not any misunderstandings. So with that, I think that would be a really great idea if we could have a meeting sooner than later, because the first market, Councillor Donaldson, is the middle of May.
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day? Okay, so how about if we do that and get everybody to the table and see if we can iron some things out. It may be that some farmers choose to use their own farm stands rather than bringing produce to the farmers market, but we definitely want to be able to use the farmers market for supporting agriculture, which they do, but maybe they can do a little bit better. So let's have those conversations. Good idea. So, did you want to make that motion?
Sure, I would move that Mary Little, Councillor Donaldson, are you okay with the idea? Or?
Yes, absolutely.
So I would move that Mary Little and Councillor Donaldson liaise with both the MPA and members of the Ag Committee to discuss the issues outlined in Ms. Tunnicliffe's letter of March 26th.
Okay. This is moved by Councillor Shuken, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Discussion? Councillor Gray?
Thanks. I'll support the motion. I think, Councillor Donaldson, you're the liaison for both the Ag Committee and the MPA?
Yes, correct.
Great. So I think that, I was a little bit surprised to get the letter here at the table. It seems to me that the two groups were to talk to each other, much would be resolved. I want to just a shout out to the farmers, of course, in our community, who are producers. A shout out to the people who've been organizing the producers, the farm markets for a number of years now. I seem to recall the history was that there weren't enough farmers actually able to take the time to be at that market all the time. And so we did, or they did rather, reach beyond our community and in fact, arts and crafts and all the other parts of things. My only caution about it would be, I presume at this point, they've probably signed up the people for this year. So it's a question of being good with everybody. I'm sure they're doing their best with the information they have. But if the groups haven't been talking, then the Producers Association may not know there are other people who would like to be involved. So carrying that conversation seems like a great idea. And then I wouldn't mind hearing back later how it's going. Perhaps Mayor and Councillor Donaldson could let us know how the meetings go. The final point I would make is that the agriculture letter, Councillor Donaldson, your letter says that typically there'd be a representative from the MPA on the Ag Committee. And now we've just assigned new members to the Ag Committee. Is there anybody who's sitting on the Ag Committee currently who might volunteer, or is part of the MPA who might volunteer to be a liaison, or do we need to appoint a new individual? Well, perhaps that could be part of the discussion as well. So just not to ignore that part of the request.
Correct. We did have somebody that has left and we've replaced them, and they are part of the market. So that, I think, will continue. I think that what the Ag Committee is wanting is, are we meeting the needs of the MPA and vice versa? And now that we have this plan that it will be released soon, where can we support more chosen grown farmers, whether they're at their roadside stands, direct farm marketing like what we do on our farm, or at the market? Are we meeting everybody's needs? So I think it's coming full circle. We've identified a few things. We've had people say that they want to be involved in the market, didn't get a call back or whatever. So maybe some things were amiss. I don't really know. I'm not involved with intimate workings of that group, but it was just thought that it would be timely now that we've got the plan and where can we go next. We've identified the season's just about to start. I know I spoke with Jackie and she's got lots of new people coming on board. They also expanded their lease area last year, so there are areas that we can expand more vendors, but there are some infrastructure safety concerns that we have to address before we do that. So that's just another part of the succession plan of our operations. So.
Okay. Councillor Epp, then Councillor Gray.
Yeah, obviously it is important to support our farmers, but I also I think it's it's nice to have a diversity in the markets so that when people come, you can kind of do a bit more shopping than just for the farm produce. And we do have in our strategic plan, we do say that we want to support small business. I think that's also is along if the two groups can kind of come to a meet halfway somewhere that can kind of satisfy all the needs would be nice.
Good point. Councillor Gray.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so with that, we have a motion on the table. Call question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We have no bylaws and no other business, but we do have 20 minutes for question periods if anybody, oh yeah, and sorry about that. And we do have correspondence for information number 11. We've got the Machosen Producers Association license of occupation, as well as correspondence received from Deb Bacon regarding the letter from Miss Helen Cliff. Okay? Okay, so with that, questions. Does anybody in the audience have any questions? Hearing crickets, I say that we move on to a motion for adjournment. Moved by Councillor Donaldson, second by Councillor Knapp. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much, everybody. Good evening.
How can I leave? I've got the app.
Can I have that one?